All human soft materials will be banned from Vrixian quarters, and there will be no further contact between human person. 2 weeks had passed since that terrible day in the storage area. Jiwoo had been officially suspended from duty pending an investigation. The Vrixian Council had filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Station Authority. They accused her of interfering with another species' cultural practices, of attempting to undermine Vrixian child-rearing traditions. She sat in her quarters, staring at the walls. Without work to occupy her mind, all she could think about were the cubs. Were they okay? Were they still crying at night? Did they still look for soft things to sleep in? Her door chimed. Hyun entered without waiting for permission. He looked tired. Dark circles under his eyes. His uniform was wrinkled. "You look terrible," Jiwoo said. "You should talk," Hyun replied. He sat down heavily in her chair. "Captain Yuna wants to see you tomorrow. The council hearing is in 3 days. They're bringing in witnesses, medical experts, cultural advisors. This is big, Chief." "I'm not Chief anymore," Jiwoo said quietly. "I'm just Jiwoo now, a human who made a mess of everything." "Stop that," Hyun said firmly. "You helped those cubs. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why am I suspended? Why? Are the Vrixians so angry? Why did I make everything worse?" Hyun pulled out his data pad. "Because you scared them. Look at this. I've been documenting everything, even though I probably shouldn't. The cubs' health readings, behavioral observations, everything." He showed her screen after screen of data, charts and graphs and medical reports. "Kira and Nico's stress levels have gone back up. Not as high as before they met you, but higher than when they were sleeping in your hoodie. Same with the other cubs. Their immune markers are dropping. They're not sleeping well. Some of them are showing signs of depression." Jiwoo felt sick. "So I did make it worse. I showed them something better and then it was taken away. That's cruel." "Or," Hyun said slowly, "you showed them what they needed, and now their bodies and minds are telling them that they're not getting it. The cubs aren't broken, Jiwoo. The system is." Before Jiwoo could respond, her door chimed again. This time it was someone she didn't expect. A human woman in civilian clothes. She was older, maybe in her 50s, with kind eyes and gray streaks in her black hair. "Security Chief Jiwoo?" the woman asked. "Just Jiwoo now," she said. "Who are you?" "My name is Bora. I'm a child development specialist from Earth. I arrived on the station yesterday. Captain Yuna requested my presence for the hearing." She glanced at Hyun. "May I come in? I'd like to discuss your situation." Jiwoo gestured for her to enter. Bora sat down, pulling out her own datapad. "I've read all the reports, medical data from Dr. Minji, security logs from Officer Hyun, witness statements from various personnel, and I've spent the last 24 hours observing the Vrixian cubs from a distance." "And?" Jiwoo asked. "And you were absolutely correct in your actions," Bora said firmly. "Those cubs were displaying classic signs of attachment deprivation. Their culture actively prevents the formation of secure bonds during the critical developmental period. It's harmful, measurably harmful. But it's their culture," Jiwoo said. "Who am I to tell them they're doing it wrong?" "You're someone who cares about children," Bora replied. "Any children, all children. That's not a weakness, Jiwoo. It's humanity's greatest strength. We have the capacity to care across species boundaries, to see suffering and want to stop it, even when it's not our own kind suffering." Hyun leaned forward. "Can you testify to that at the hearing?" "I plan to," Bora said. "I've brought decades of research on child development, cross-species studies, attachment theory. All of it supports what you did. But I need you to understand something. This won't be easy. The Vrixian Council is powerful. Elder Vorin is influential. They see this as an attack on their entire way of life." "It's not an attack," Jiwoo said. "I just wanted to help some scared children. I know. But that's not how they see it. To them, you're saying that their ancestors were wrong, that thousands of years of tradition are harmful. That's a hard thing for any culture to accept." There was a soft knock on the door. Hyun checked his scanner. "It's a Vrixian, Female. Alone. Jiwoo's heart jumped. Let her in. The door opened. Seva stood there wearing a cloak with the hood pulled up. She looked around nervously. May I speak with you? Alone? Bora and Hyun exchanged glances. We'll be outside, Bora said. They left, closing the door behind them. Seva pulled back her hood. Her golden eyes were red and puffy. She had been crying. I'm not supposed to be here, she said quietly. Talon doesn't know I came. Elder Voran would be furious if he found out. Why did you come? Jiwoo asked gently. Because my cubs are suffering, Seva said. Her voice broke. They cry every night. They don't sleep. They've stopped eating properly. Nico asks for you constantly. Kira has nightmares, and I don't know what to do. Tears ran down her furry cheeks. I'm their mother. I'm supposed to know how to help them. But our ways aren't working. Nothing I do makes them feel better. They're miserable. Jiwoo moved closer. She wanted to hug Seva, to offer comfort, but she wasn't sure if that was appropriate. What do you want from me? I want to know if it's wrong, Seva whispered. What we do, how we raise our children. Is it really wrong? Have we been hurting them all this time? Jiwoo chose her words carefully. I think you love your children. I think all Vrixian parents love their cubs. But I also think your culture has told you that showing that love is weakness. That comfort is bad, that children need to be tough instead of being held, and I think that's hard on everyone. But we're warriors, Seva said. We need to be strong. Our history is filled with conflict and survival. Soft cubs become weak adults. Do they? Jiwoo asked. Or do loved children become confident adults? Children who feel safe and cared for grow up to be secure and brave. Children who are scared and isolated grow up to be anxious and defensive. I've seen it in humans, and I think it's the same for Vrixians. Seva was quiet for a long moment. Other parents have come to me, she finally said. Quietly, in secret. They say their cubs are acting the same way, crying for soft things, having bad dreams. One mother said her cub tried to run away again, looking for human quarters. She had to lock the doors. That's terrible, Jiwoo breathed. We're all scared, Seva admitted. Scared that Elder Voran is right, that you've corrupted our cubs. But we're also scared that you're right, that we've been doing this wrong, that we've been hurting our children without knowing it. What does Talon think? Seva's face clouded. Talon is torn. He sees what's happening to our cubs. He knows they were happier with you. But he's a commander, a leader. He has to uphold our traditions. He can't admit that our ways might be wrong. It would make him look weak. Even if it means his children suffer, he thinks they'll adjust, that they just need time to forget about the human comfort, that eventually things will go back to normal. Seva's voice was bitter. But it's been 2 weeks and they're not adjusting. They're getting worse. Jiwoo made a decision. Seva, at the hearing in 3 days, I need you to tell the truth. Tell them what you just told me. About the cubs suffering. About the other parents. About your doubts. Seva's eyes went wide with fear. I can't. Talon would never forgive me. The council would exile us. We'd lose everything. You might lose your position, your status, but you'd be fighting for your children. Isn't that worth it? You don't understand what you're asking, Seva said. Her whole body shook. In our culture, questioning the elders is unthinkable. Going against tradition is shameful. If I testify against our ways, I'll be marked as a traitor. My cubs will be outcasts. Or, Jiwoo said softly, you'll be brave. You'll be the mother who stood up and said that her children's well-being matters more than tradition, and maybe other parents will find the courage to do the same. Seva looked torn. She stood there, trembling, tears running down her face. I need to think about this. I need to talk to Talon, or maybe I don't. I don't know what to do. Whatever you decide, Jiwoo said. I respect it. I know this isn't easy. Siva pulled her hood back up. I should go before anyone sees me here. She moved to the door, then paused. Ji-woo? When you held my cubs that night, they looked so peaceful, so happy. I've never seen them like that before. And I realized something. What? I've never felt like that either. No one has ever held me that way, made me feel that safe. My whole life I've been taught that such things are weakness. But watching my cubs with you, I wondered, maybe it's not weakness. Maybe it's just love. And maybe we've forgotten what that's supposed to look like. She left before Ji-woo could respond. Hyun and Bora came back in. They had clearly heard everything. She's going to testify, Bora said confidently. Maybe not now, but when she sees other parents speaking up, she'll find her courage. What other parents? Ji-woo asked. Bora smiled. The ones who contacted me yesterday. 5 Rixian couples. They want to meet with me privately. They want to talk about alternative approaches to raising their cubs. They're scared, but they're willing to consider change. Elder Vorin won't let them testify, Hyun said. He'll shut them down. Then we make sure he can't, Bora replied. We gather evidence, we prepare our case, and we show the council that this isn't about one human interfering. It's about what's best for. The hearing chamber was packed. Ji-woo had never seen so many beings gathered in one place. Vrixians filled half the room, their golden eyes watching her with expressions ranging from anger to curiosity. Humans occupied another section, along with representatives from a dozen other species. Everyone wanted to see how this would end. The Galactic Council sat at a raised platform. Counselor Ren, a Thraxian with deep purple skin and 4 arms, served as the head judge. His face was unreadable as he looked down at the assembly. We are here to address the formal complaint filed by the Vrixian Council against Security Chief Ji-woo of Earth. Ren's voice boomed through the chamber. The charges are cultural interference, unauthorized contact with Vrixian minors, and undermining Vrixian parental authority. How does the defendant plead? Ji-woo stood. Her legs felt shaky, but her voice was firm. Not guilty, Counselor. A murmur ran through the crowd. Elder Vorin stood from the Vrixian section. He looked even older in the harsh chamber lights. His gray fur was perfectly groomed. His robes were formal and decorated with symbols of his rank. Counselor Ren, Vorin said, his voice cold and clear. The evidence is overwhelming. This human deliberately encouraged our cubs to seek her out. She provided them with soft materials and physical comfort, knowing it contradicts our cultural practices. She has poisoned our children's minds against their own heritage. That's not true, Ji-woo started to say, but Captain Yuna, who stood beside her as her advocate, touched her arm. Let them present their case first, Yuna whispered. Then we'll have our turn. Elder Vorin called his first witness, a male Vrixian named Quan. He was a parent of one of the cubs found in the storage area. Tell the council what happened to your cub, Vorin said. Quan spoke stiffly. My son was a normal cub, strong, independent. Then he met this human. Now he cries at night. He refuses to sleep in his proper bed. He speaks of wanting soft things, human things. She ruined him. And before he met the human? Vorin pressed. He never cried? Never seemed unhappy? Quan hesitated just for a second. All cubs have moments of weakness, but we teach them to overcome it. That is our way. Thank you, Vorin said. He called several more parents. Each told similar stories. Cubs who were changed after meeting Ji-woo. Cubs who wanted comfort instead of showing strength. Cubs who questioned Vrixian ways. Then Vorin called Commander Talon. Talon stood, his military bearing perfect. He didn't look at Ji-woo as he approached the witness stand. Commander, Vorin said, your cubs were the first to be corrupted by the human. Tell the council what you observed. Talon's jaw tightened. My cubs, Kira and Nico, were found sleeping in the human's clothing. When I tried to take them home, they resisted. They cried and clung to her. They refused to obey. And how has their behavior been since? Difficult, Talon admitted. They have nightmares. They ask for the human constantly. They are not the obedient cubs they once were. Because of her influence, Vorin stated, because she showed them weakness and made them want it. Talon opened his mouth, closed it. Yes, he finally said, but his voice lacked conviction. Vorin nodded, satisfied. The evidence is clear, Counselor. This human has caused measurable harm to our children. She must be punished, and all contact between humans and Vrixian cubs must be forbidden. It is the only way to protect our culture. Counselor Wren turned to Captain Yuna. The defense may now present its case. Yuna stood. She was a tall woman with sharp features and eyes that missed nothing. Thank you, Counselor. I call Dr. Minji to the stand. Minji walked to the witness area. She looked small compared to the towering Vrixians, but her voice was strong. Dr. Minji, you examined the cubs in question. Tell us what you found. Minji pulled up holographic displays of medical data. Charts and graphs floated in the air for everyone to see. These cubs showed significant health improvements during and after contact with Security Chief Jiwoo. Lower stress hormones, better immune function, improved sleep patterns, higher levels of bonding chemicals. By every medical standard, they were healthier. Healthier? Elder Vorin interrupted. They were weaker, more dependent. No, Minji said firmly. Comfort doesn't create weakness, it creates security. Secure children become confident adults. This is proven science across multiple species. Then why, Vorin demanded, have we survived for thousands of years without such things? You've survived, Minji agreed. But at what cost? I accessed historical Vrixian medical records. Your species has high rates of anxiety disorders, depression, attachment difficulties. These problems are significantly higher than in species that practice comfort-based child rearing. The crowd murmured. Several Vrixians looked uncomfortable. Yuna called her next witness. I call Bora, Child Development Specialist. Bora approached calmly. She had prepared for this moment. I've studied child development across 17 different species, she began. And I've found something consistent. All young beings need 3 things to thrive: safety, nutrition, and attachment. It doesn't matter if they're human, Vrixian, or any other species, these needs are universal. She pulled up her own data. Vrixian cubs receive safety and nutrition. But attachment? The physical comfort and emotional bonding that creates secure individuals, your culture actively prevents it. And the results show. Your cubs survive, but they don't thrive. This is speculation, Vorin said angrily, based on human ideas of what children need. We are not humans. No, Bora agreed. But you are mammals, social creatures. Your cubs purr when comforted. They seek warmth. They respond to gentle touch. These are biological needs, not cultural choices. Your culture is fighting against your own biology. Hyun was called next. He presented his documentation. Weeks of observations. Data on the cubs before and after meeting Jiwoo. Behavioral patterns. Sleep quality. Social interactions. The evidence is overwhelming, Hyun said. Contact with human comfort items and human caregiving improved every measurable aspect of these cubs' lives. This isn't opinion. It's fact. Elder Vorin stood again. Facts without context. These so-called improvements make our cubs weak, dependent, unable to face the harsh realities of life. We raise warriors, not pets. Is that what you think love creates? Jiwoo spoke suddenly. She couldn't help herself. Pets? I've seen your cubs, Elder. They're not weak, they're scared. There's a difference. Counselor Wren looked at her. Security Chief Jiwoo, you will have your chance to testify. Please wait your turn. Sorry, Counselor, Jiwoo said. But she wasn't sorry. She was angry. Yuna called several more expert witnesses. A xenopsychologist named Do-Yun who explained attachment theory. An evolutionary biologist who discussed the development of social bonding. Each one supported the same conclusion. The cubs needed comfort. Denying it hurt them. But Elder Vorin countered each witness with his own experts. traditionalists who argued that ancient ways were best, warriors who claimed hardship built character, counselors who worried about the slippery slope of changing fundamental cultural practices. The hearing went on for hours. Jiwoo felt exhausted. The arguments went in circles. Data versus tradition. Science versus culture. Change versus stability. Finally, Counselor Ren called for a break. "We will reconvene in 1 hour. At that time, the defendant will give her testimony." During the break, Jiwoo sat with Yuna and Bora. "It's not going well," Jiwoo said quietly. The council looks skeptical. Voron is winning. "We haven't finished yet," Yuna said. "You still need to testify. Speak from your heart, Jiwoo. Tell them why you did what you did." "Will it matter? He has all those experts saying culture is more important than individual well-being." "Then you need to make them see the individual," Bora said. "Not data or theories, just two scared children who needed help. That's what this is really about." The break ended. Everyone returned to their seats. The chamber felt even more tense than before. "Security Chief Jiwoo," Counselor Ren said, "please approach and give your testimony." Jiwoo walked to the witness area. She looked out at all the faces watching her. Hundreds of beings. So many species, so many different perspectives. How could she make them understand? "I'm just a security officer," she began. Her voice sounded small in the huge chamber. "I'm not a scientist or a cultural expert. I don't have degrees in child development or xenopsychology. I'm just someone who works night shifts and drinks too much coffee." A few beings chuckled softly. "That night I found 2 cubs hiding in my hoodie. They were cold and scared, and I did what any decent person would do. I helped them. I kept them warm. I made them feel safe, that's it. That's all I did." "You did more than that," Elder Voron said. "You—" "Let her finish," Counselor Ren interrupted. Jiwoo continued. "I didn't think about culture or tradition. I just saw 2 children who needed comfort. And later, when I learned that my actions had actually helped them, when the medical data showed they were healthier, I thought that would matter. I thought everyone would be happy that the cubs were doing better." She looked directly at Elder Voron. "But instead I'm being accused of corruption, of undermining your way of life, and I don't understand that. How can caring for children be wrong? How can making them feel safe and loved be a crime?" "Because you're not Vrixian," Voron said coldly. "You don't understand our needs, our history, our reasons for raising our cubs the way we do." "You're right," Jiwoo said. "I don't understand." 3 days had passed since that night. Jiwoo had returned Kira and Nico to their parents the next morning, just as promised. The cubs had cried when she left. She heard their wails echoing down the corridor as she walked away. It had broken her heart. She hadn't seen them since. Commander Talon had made sure of that. The Vrixian quarters were now marked as restricted for non-essential human personnel. Jiwoo understood the message. Stay away from our children. But understanding didn't make it easier. Jiwoo sat at her desk trying to focus on security reports. The station was running smoothly. No incidents. No problems. Everything was fine. So why did she feel so uneasy? Her door chimed. "Come in," she called. Hyun entered, looking excited. "Chief, you need to see this." The scanners picked up something in the human storage area. "Level 6. What kind of something?" "Life signs. Small ones, same size as before." Jiwoo was on her feet immediately. They moved quickly through the corridors, taking the lift down to level 6. The storage area was used for personal belongings that humans didn't need in their daily quarters. Extra clothes, books, supplies from Earth. Jiwoo had 3 boxes there herself. The door unlocked with her security code. Inside, the lights flickered on automatically. Rows of storage units stretched into the distance. Everything looked normal. "The signal came from Unit 247, Hyun whispered. "Your unit." Jiwoo's heart began to beat faster. She walked to her storage unit and opened it. Inside were her boxes, neatly stacked. But on top of the boxes, curled up in a pile of her winter clothes, were Kira and Nico. "Oh no," Jiwoo breathed. "How did you 2 get here?" The cubs stirred. Kira opened her golden eyes. When she saw Jiwoo, her whole face lit up. "Jiwoo!" She launched herself forward, wrapping her small arms around Jiwoo's legs. Nico woke up more slowly. He blinked sleepily, then made a happy chirping sound. Within seconds, both cubs were climbing on her, purring loudly. "We found you," Kira said proudly. "We followed your smell. Your clothes smell nice, like sunshine and soap. And coffee," Nico added. He had his face pressed against her uniform sleeve. "You can't be here," Jiwoo said gently. "Your father will be very angry. How did you escape?" "We're good at sneaking," Kira said. "Mother teaches us to be quiet. For hunting practice, but we use it for finding you instead." Hyun scanned the area with his device. "Chief, there are more life signs. In other storage units. Human storage units," Jiwoo's eyes widened. "Show me." They moved through the storage area, Hyun leading the way. In Unit 89, they found 2 more Vrixian cubs sleeping in a pile of someone's blankets. Unit 134 had 3 cubs curled up inside a box of stuffed animals. Unit 201 had 1 very young cub, barely a toddler, clutching a human pillow. "There are 12 cubs down here," Hyun said, looking at his scanner. 12. All in human storage units. All sleeping in our soft things. Jiwoo felt overwhelmed. This wasn't just Kira and Nico anymore. This was something bigger. The cubs were actively seeking out human items. They were running away from their homes to find comfort. "We need medical here," Jiwoo said. "Now, call Minji." Minji arrived within 10 minutes. She was the station's human medical officer. Small and efficient with sharp eyes that missed nothing, she looked at the cubs scattered throughout the storage area and shook her head. "Let me examine them," she said. "All of them." It took an hour. Minji scanned each cub carefully, taking readings and making notes on her datapad. The cubs were cooperative, especially when Jiwoo stayed nearby. They seemed to trust her completely. Finally, Minji pulled Jiwoo aside. "We need to talk, privately." They stepped into a small office. Hyun joined them, closing the door. Minji pulled up her data on a screen. "Look at these readings," she said, pointing. "This is a typical Vrixian cub, age 4. These are the standard health markers we see. Heart rate, stress hormones, immune function. Everything is within normal range for their species, but look closer. The stress hormone levels are consistently high. Not dangerous, but elevated." She switched to a different screen. "Now look at Kira and Nico, same age group. But their readings are different. Stress hormones are lower, immune markers are stronger, heart rate is more stable. And look at this." She pointed to a specific measurement. "This is the Vrixian equivalent of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. In normal cubs, it's barely present. In Kira and Nico, it's elevated significantly." "What does that mean?" Hyun asked. "It means," Minji said slowly, "that the contact with Jiwoo affected them. The warmth, the soft materials, the physical comfort. It changed their body chemistry. And not just temporarily. Look at these readings from this morning. The effects are still present 3 days later." Jiwoo felt cold. "Are they healthier?" "Yes," Minji said. "Significantly healthier than the average Vrixian cub. Their immune systems are stronger. They're less stressed. They're sleeping better, based on these brain activity patterns. In every measurable way, they're thriving. Because of human contact," Jiwoo said. "Because of human-style care," Minji corrected. "The physical affection, the soft materials, the warmth. Things that human children get naturally. Things that Vrixian cubs apparently need too, even though their culture doesn't provide them." Hyun ran his hand through his hair. "Commander Talon is not going to like this." "None of the Vrixian parents will," Minji said. "Their entire approach to child rearing is based on the idea that their cubs need to be tough. That softness is weakness, but the medical evidence says otherwise." "We have to tell them," Jiwoo said. "And say what?" Minji asked. "That they've been raising their children wrong for thousands of years? That their cultural practices are harming their cubs? They'll see it as an attack. But it's the truth, and truth doesn't matter if no one wants to hear it." The door burst open. Commander Talon stood there, his eyes blazing. Behind him were several other Vrixian adults. They all looked angry. "Where are our cubs?" Talon demanded. "They're safe," Jiwoo said calmly. "They're in the storage area. We were just about to contact you." "About to contact us?" A female Vrixian pushed forward. "Our children have been missing for hours. We've been searching everywhere." "I'm sorry," Jiwoo said. "We only just found them. They were sleeping." "In human storage units," Talon said. His voice was dangerous. "Surrounded by human items. Seeking human comfort again." "It's not just Kira and Nico," Hyun said quietly. "There are 12 cubs here. From 12 different families. The Vrixian parents looked shocked, then angry, then something else, something that looked almost like fear. An elderly Vrixian male stepped forward. His fur was gray with age. His eyes were cold. Jiwoo recognized him from the station directory. Elder Voran, a high-ranking member of the Vrixian Council. "This is unacceptable," Voran said. His voice was hard as stone. "You humans are corrupting our young, teaching them weakness, making them dependent on soft things and gentle touches. This ends now." "With respect, Elder," Minji spoke up. "I'm a medical officer. I've examined these cubs. They're healthier than average. The human contact has benefited them." "Benefited them?" Voran's lip curled. "You measure health in chemicals and numbers. We measure it in strength and resilience. Our species has thrived for thousands of years without your soft human ways." "Have you thrived?" Jiwoo asked quietly. "Or have you just survived?" The words hung in the air. Every Vrixian in the room stared at her. "What did you say?" Voran's voice was barely above a whisper. Jiwoo met his eyes. "I asked if your species has thrived or just survived. Because there's a difference. Surviving means you make it through. Thriving means you grow stronger. And I'm wondering which one you've really been doing." "How dare you? Show him the data," Jiwoo said to Minji. Minji hesitated, then nodded. She pulled up screens of medical data, historical records, comparative studies. "These are the health records for Vrixian cubs over the past 100 years, she explained.
Stress hormone levels have always been high.
Immune function has always been just adequate. Mental health markers show consistent anxiety patterns. Your cubs survive, yes, but they could do so much better. Hyun stepped forward with his own data pad. "I pulled historical records from the station's database. Every species here has different approaches to child rearing. But the Vrixians have the highest rate of juvenile stress disorders, the highest rate of attachment issues in young adults, the highest rate of emotional regulation problems. It's all documented." The Vrixian parents looked at each other. Some looked angry. Others looked confused. A few looked worried. Siva pushed through the crowd. Her eyes were red. "Is it true?" she asked Minji. "Are my cubs healthier now?" "Yes," Minji said gently. "The changes are measurable and significant. But we've always raised our children this way," one of the other parents said. "Teaching them strength. Teaching them independence. It's our culture. It's who we are. Cultures can change," Jiwoo said. "They should change when we learn better ways. When we discover that old methods aren't working." "Our methods work perfectly," Elder Voran snapped. "We are strong. We are warriors. We don't need your human softness." "Then why," Seva said softly, "are all our cubs here? Why did 12 different families have their children run away to sleep in human blankets? Why are they seeking something we're not giving them?" No one had an answer. Elder Voran's tail lashed. "This ends now. All cubs will return to their families immediately." Jiwoo stood slowly, careful not to disturb the sleeping cubs. Commander Talon stared at her with those intense golden eyes. His mate Seva pushed past him, her face twisted with worry and something else. Fear, maybe, or shame. "Commander, your cubs were scared and cold when I found them," Jiwoo said calmly. "They were hiding in my hoodie. I was just keeping them warm until you arrived." "Cold?" Talon's voice was sharp. "That's impossible. Vrixians don't get cold. We have fur." Jiwoo gestured to the cubs still wrapped against her chest. "These two were shivering when I found them. Their body temperature was low." Seva moved closer, her eyes fixed on her children. "Give them to me," she said quietly. Her voice shook slightly. Jiwoo nodded and began to unwrap the hoodie. The moment she started to move the fabric, both cubs woke up. The smaller one, Nico, made a distressed sound. His tiny claws dug into the soft material. The older one, Kira, opened her eyes and immediately started to cry. "No. No, want to stay?" Kira's voice was high and panicked. Hyun stepped forward to help, but that only made things worse. Both cubs began to wail. Nico wrapped his small arms around Jiwoo's neck and held on tight. Kira pressed her face against the hoodie and refused to let go. Siva reached for her children, her hands trembling. "Kira, Nico, come to Mother. Stop this behavior." "You're being weak. I don't want to," Kira cried. "It's warm here." "It's soft." "Please don't make us go." Talon's face darkened. Jiwoo couldn't tell if he was angry or embarrassed. Maybe both. He stepped forward and tried to take Nico from Jiwoo's arms. The cub screamed. It was a sound of pure terror, loud enough to hurt Jiwoo's ears. Stop, Jiwoo said firmly. You're scaring them more. They are my cubs, Talon growled. I will handle this. You're not handling it. You're making it worse. The two of them stared at each other. The tension in the room was thick. Hyun looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Seva had tears in her large eyes, though she was clearly trying to hide them. The door chimed. A new voice spoke. May I enter? Talon turned. Ambassador Dane, this is a private matter. A private matter that is disrupting an entire section of the station, the ambassador said as he walked in. Dane was a Karathi, a species known for their diplomatic skills. He was short and covered in blue scales. His eyes were kind. I could hear the cubs crying from 3 corridors away. Dane looked at the scene before him. 2 terrified cubs clinging to a human, 2 distressed Vrixian parents, 2 confused security officers. He sighed. Commander Talon, perhaps we should discuss this calmly, Dane suggested. There is nothing to discuss, Talon said. His voice was hard. My cubs wandered off. The human found them. I am taking them home. That is the end of it, is it? Dane looked at the cubs. They seem quite attached to Security Chief Jiwoo. That is the problem, Talon said. His tail lashed behind him, a sign of agitation. This kind of attachment is forbidden in our culture. Cubs must learn independence. They must learn strength, Jiwoo spoke carefully. Commander, with respect, they're just children. All children need comfort sometimes. Human children, perhaps, Seva said quietly. She had stopped trying to reach for her cubs. Her arms hung at her sides. Vrixian cubs are different. We are taught from birth to be strong, to not rely on softness or warmth or physical affection. Is that really what you believe? Jiwoo asked. She looked at Seva, not Talon. Or is that just what you were taught to believe? Seva's eyes widened. No one spoke for a long moment. Talon broke the silence. You dare question our ways? Our culture has survived for thousands of years. We are warriors. We are strong. We don't need soft fabrics and gentle touches. That is weakness. Then why are your cubs here? Jiwoo asked simply. Why did they leave their quarters? Why did they find their way to my office and climb into my hoodie? If they don't need these things, why did they come looking for them? Talon had no answer. His jaw worked, but no words came out. Ambassador Dane stepped between them. Perhaps we are all tired. It has been a long night. May I suggest a temporary solution? He turned to Jiwoo. Would you be willing to stay with the cubs for the remainder of the night? Just until they calm down enough to return home? Absolutely not. Talon's voice was loud. I will not have my cubs sleeping in human quarters, wrapped in human clothing, learning human weakness. Would you rather they continue to scream? Dane asked gently. Commander, I mean no disrespect to your culture, but right now your cubs are in distress. Security Chief Jiwoo has found a way to calm them. Perhaps just for tonight we could allow this arrangement. Seva touched her mate's arm. Talon, she whispered. Look at them. Talon looked at his cubs. They had stopped screaming, but they still clung to Jiwoo. Kira's face was buried in the hoodie. Nico's small body shook with leftover sobs. They looked so small, so vulnerable. This cannot happen again, Talon said finally. His voice was quieter now, but still firm. Tonight only. Tomorrow they come home, and they will not be permitted near the human quarters again. Understood, Jiwoo said. She didn't agree with his decision, but she knew better than to argue right now. The cubs needed rest. So did everyone else. Seva stepped closer. She reached out slowly and touched Kira's head. The cub didn't pull away, but she didn't lean into the touch either. Seva's hand trembled. Be good, she whispered. Mother will see you in the morning. She turned and walked out quickly. Jiwoo saw tears running down her furry cheeks. Talon watched his mate leave. He looked at his cubs one more time. Something soft passed across his face just for a second. Then it was gone, replaced by the hard mask of a commander. They will be ready to return by 0800 hours, he said. It wasn't a request, I'll have them ready, Jiwoo promised. Talon nodded once and left. The door slid shut behind him. Hyun let out a long breath. That was intense. It's not over, Ambassador Dane said. He looked worried. This situation is more complicated than it appears. What do you mean? Jiwoo asked. Dane gestured to the cubs, who were already falling back asleep against her. You've given them something they've never had before. Comfort, warmth, the kind of care that human children receive naturally. They won't forget this easily. And if word spreads among the other Vrixian families, It could become a diplomatic problem, Jiwoo finished. She understood now. Because it challenges their entire approach to raising children. Exactly, Dane said. The Vrixians pride themselves on their strength. Their culture is built on the idea that hardship creates resilience. If their cubs start seeking out human comfort, it undermines everything they believe. But what if their way is wrong? Hyun asked. I mean, no offense to their culture, but these cubs were terrified. They're clearly happier now. That, Dane said softly, is exactly what makes this dangerous. Because you might be right. And if you are right, then the Vrixians have been raising their children in a way that harms them for thousands of years. Jiwoo looked down at Kira and Nico. They slept peacefully in her arms, their small chests rising and falling with each breath. They looked content, happy, safe. I'll keep them for tonight, she said quietly. But tomorrow we need to have a serious conversation about this. Because those two aren't the only Vrixian cubs on this station, and if they need this kind of care, then maybe the others do too. Dane nodded slowly. I was afraid you would say that. He moved toward the door, then paused. Be careful, Chief Jiwoo. You may have just started something that none of us can control. Change is coming whether we're ready for it or not. He left, leaving Jiwoo alone with Hyun and the sleeping cubs. Hyun pulled up a blanket from the emergency supplies. Here, you'll need this if you're sleeping in that chair. Thanks, Jiwoo said. She settled back, adjusting her position so the cubs were comfortable. They snuggled closer, purring softly. Chief? Hyun said quietly. What you did tonight. That was good, Jiwoo smiled tiredly. I just did what anyone would do for scared children. That's exactly the point, Hyun said. That's what makes us human. Jiwoo walked through the empty corridors of Station Apex 7, her boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. The night shift was always quiet in the diplomatic quarters. Most of the aliens were sleeping in their pods and chambers. She liked this time because it gave her space to think. Her security scanner beeped softly in her hand. She glanced at it and frowned. Something was moving in the restricted human residential section. That was strange. Her quarters were in that area, and she was supposed to be the only human there tonight. Hyun, are you seeing this? She spoke into her communication device. Yes, Chief, 2 small life forms. They're in your personal workspace. Hyun's voice crackled back. He sounded worried. Should I send backup? No, I'll check it out. Meet me there in 5 minutes. Jiwoo picked up her pace. Her mind ran through possibilities. Intruders? Lost maintenance workers? The scanners showed the life forms were small, maybe the size of children. Her hand moved to the weapon at her hip, but something told her she wouldn't need it. The door to her office slid open with a quiet hiss. The lights were dim just as she had left them hours ago. Her desk sat in the corner, covered with reports and half-empty coffee cups. But something was different. Her gray hoodie, the one she always kept draped over her chair, was moving. Jiwoo stepped closer, her heart beating faster. Small sounds came from the hoodie, whimpering, crying, the sound of children in distress. She reached out slowly and lifted a corner of the fabric. 2 pairs of large golden eyes stared back at her. The eyes belonged to 2 small creatures covered in soft gray fur. Their ears were pointed and pressed flat against their heads. They had small fangs visible in their trembling mouths. Vrixian cubs, oh no, Jiwoo whispered. How did you 2 get here? The cubs pressed closer together inside her hoodie. They were shaking. The smaller one made a pitiful mewing sound. Jiwoo recognized them immediately. She had seen them at the diplomatic reception earlier that evening. They belonged to Commander Talon, the head of the Vrixian delegation. The door opened behind her. Hyun rushed in, his weapon drawn. He stopped when he saw Jiwoo kneeling by the desk. Chief? What is it? Put that away, Jiwoo said gently. We have visitors. Hyun holstered his weapon and came closer. His eyes widened when he saw the cubs. Commander Talon's children? How did they get in here? We need to call their parents right now. Wait, Jiwoo held up a hand. She studied the cubs carefully. They weren't just scared. They were terrified. Their whole bodies shook with fear. When Hyun moved closer, they pressed themselves deeper into the hoodie, trying to disappear. Jiwoo had learned about Vrixian biology during her training. They were a warrior species, proud and strong. They looked like large cats that walked on 2 legs. Their culture valued strength and independence. Even their children were taught to be tough from birth. But these cubs didn't look tough. They looked like any frightened children she had ever seen. Something's wrong. Jiwoo said quietly. They're too scared. This isn't normal fear. She slowly reached out her hand. The larger cub flinched but didn't pull away. Jiwoo gently touched the cub's head. The fur was incredibly soft. The cub made a small sound, almost like a purr. Before she knew what was happening, both cubs had moved closer to her. They pressed their small bodies against her hands, seeking warmth. They're freezing, Jiwoo realized. The station maintained different temperatures for different species. The Vrixian quarters were kept cool because their thick fur protected them from cold, but these cubs had thinner fur than adults. They were shivering. Without thinking, Jiwoo picked up her hoodie with both cubs still inside it. She wrapped it around them more securely, pulling them close to her chest. The effect was immediate. The cubs stopped shaking. Their purring grew louder. Within seconds, they had relaxed completely against her. Jiwoo, what are you doing? Hyun asked. He looked uncomfortable. We should really call Commander Talon. I know, I will. But look at them, Hyun. They're calming down. The smaller cub, who couldn't have been more than 4 years old in human terms, had closed its eyes. Its tiny paws clutched at Jiwoo's sleeve. The larger one, maybe 6 years old, kept its golden eyes open but looked much less afraid. It studied Jiwoo's face with curiosity. I don't understand, Hyun said. Why would they come here? How did they even get past security? Cubs are small. The scanners might not register them as threats, Jiwoo explained. She sat down in her chair, still holding the cubs. As for why they came here, I'm not sure. Maybe they were looking for something. For what? Jiwoo looked down at the 2 small aliens wrapped in her clothing. They looked so peaceful now, so safe. Warmth, comfort, things that children need. Hyun pulled up a chair and sat across from her. He ran a hand through his black hair, a habit he had when he was confused. But they're Vrixians. Their culture doesn't do comfort. I read the briefing files. They believe in teaching children to be independent from birth. Physical affection is considered weakness. Maybe, Jiwoo said softly, but these cubs didn't get that message. She activated her communication device with her free hand. Security Chief Jiwoo to Commander Talon. I need to speak with you urgently. It's about your children. The response came within seconds. Talon's voice was sharp with panic. My cubs, what about them? Where are they? They're safe, Commander. They're with me in my office. They're unharmed. I'm coming now. The connection cut off. Hyun stood up. He's going to be angry. Vrixians are very protective of their young, even if they don't show it the way humans do. I know, Jiwoo said. She looked down at the cubs again. The smaller one was fully asleep now, snoring softly. The larger one was fighting to keep its eyes open. But I had to tell him. They're his children. What are you going to say when he asks why they came to you? Jiwoo thought about that. She thought about how quickly the cubs had calmed down when she held them. How they had sought out her hoodie, something soft and warm that smelled like a human. How they had trusted her instantly, even though she was an alien to them. I'm going to tell him the truth, she finally said. His cubs were cold and scared. They found something here that they needed, something they weren't getting at home. He's not going to like that. No, Jiwoo agreed. He's probably not. The minutes passed slowly as they waited. The cubs slept peacefully in Jiwoo's arms. She found herself stroking their fur gently, the way she might pet a cat. They purred in their sleep. It was a soothing sound. Finally, the door burst open. Commander Talon stood in the doorway. He was tall, easily 7 feet, with dark brown fur and piercing golden eyes identical to his cubs. Behind him stood a female Vrixian with lighter fur. That must be Siva, his bondmate. Talon's eyes found his children immediately. His expression was hard to read, but Jiwoo saw relief flash across his face. Then she saw something else. Confusion, and perhaps a little bit of anger. What? Talon said slowly, his voice low and dangerous. Are my cubs doing in a human's clothing?